difficulties. As you can already tell, we are getting a much better output right now. Things are coming back into focus as we watch the battle for the lead between Mitchell Riggs and Brandon Ward. Again, apologies for the quality issues there at the moment, as we will throw it back to our lead play-by-play announcer and patron saint of broadcasting with me, Evan Pizzoco. Evan, sorry about that. Take it away.
Well, I can tell you that nobody missed anything, because you can see the running order exactly as we left it. Still Riggs in front. Ward tucked up behind in the number 2 spot. And 57 really likes this part of the racetrack. Every time you try to go away right here at 2, he got to run. He's got a huge run now to the inside, side by side for the race lead, but this end of the racetrack is where Riggs has been better. The 57 almost cleared him, unable to do so, and we'll go around side by side. Another lap, more small advantage. He leads his first lap of the evening right there as we completed number 20. Riggs, though, now going to have to try to make turn 2 work. This has been Ward's better side for the outside to keep him in it, and what this has done is it has allowed Mike Cusby in third to close in. We're going to have a 3-way battle for the race lead on our hands.
Yep, and that is Riggs, Ward, and Husby, as Husby is going to start reeling these guys in for sure. One of the great things about Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and you're seeing it now that we've gotten everything sorted out, is the fact that you have multiple grooves here. You can really run the top, you can run the bottom, especially even during the day when we run here. You can definitely run the top because the shadows of the billboards typically help you in 1 and 2, and you can definitely hang on there. As here comes Husby, he's got to run on the outside towards the 2nd spot.
The 57 almost got caught sleeping there, trying to look to the inside of the 09 division of Riggs, and as you saw, he almost took the spot away by just following him in line and getting up behind the 09 division. Did it happen? Ward decided to climb, so your top 3 get a battle once more, and if Husby can't come in here and mix things up and disturb enough to make this group apart, then the same thing that happened with him now 3rd, it happened with 4th. 5th. I mean, the longer this goes on, more cars going to be part of it. Here is Ward, though, once more. Picks at the spot. Exit at 2. Now down into turn 3. Gets it out in front, but it needs to get all the way clear to keep that 09 from carrying speed on the outside, and he is still unable to do so. Husby's going to go down away to the apron to try to cut that front straightaway and everything he can. But I think with Riggs being able to hang on to the outside, if he can carry the speed through 2, he'll be okay. 57 sees daylight. He's got it. New race leader for the first time. It is Ward for P1.
Yeah, Ward moves to the lead, and Riggs will now have to sit 2nd, but he's not going to be just sitting there idle. He's going to face some pressure from Mike Husby and Jordan Erickson, last week's winner, in the 4th spot, catching up to them now in the top 5.
Erickson was able to close a little bit from P4. He's down to about 0.6 of a second off of the race leading down, but I still think that Husby is going to be making a move here on the 09 Riggs very shortly. Riggs looked real good out of the gate, but he has been struggling at that end of the racetrack that we just got out of. So Husby gets to the bottom in 2, but he is going to be able to clear before we even hit turn 4. Executes it as nicely as you can imagine. He slides up in front, probably going to put the block on Riggs if he wanted to. Instead, he'll dive to the apron, and that'll allow the 09 machine to keep a nose on the outside. So this battle prolongs itself for a little bit longer. He's got space again at a 2, and he will tiptoe it up the banking. Husby now in P2. Riggs, though, going to cross him over. He'll go to the bottom. Can he take that spot right back? Both these cars fighting for 2nd as Erickson now breathes down their neck.
They head down through the tri-oval as Erickson now is right all up on him, like you said. He is right there, ready to pounce. And in fact, here he comes. He's going to try and make a move on the inside. He's going to get the door shut by Riggs. That's the 2 winners of the CORT National Series so far this season, battling for the 3rd spot.
It was Riggs in the opener at Daytona and Atlanta. Erickson just a week ago on the CORT 300 from Iowa. So both these drivers in this battle know what it takes to find success, not just in this CORT National Series in general, but in this season against these competitors. You can see Ericsson, though, way low on entry. Riggs opted to stay in line behind Husby on the outside of the racetrack with the 88 machine swoop to the bottom. And that's going to get him up alongside the 09 car. So we fight for third on the racetrack. And Ericsson to make it work down on the inside line. It gets clear in the center. But is he going to force the issue? Step up. The not the greatest runs off the corner, and you can book it. Jordan Ericsson. He started in 16th spot. We talk about big movers. How about your top three right now? Brandon Ward, 6th to 1st. Husby, 10th to 2nd. And now Jordan Ericsson, 16th to 3rd. But he wants more.
Yeah, he's definitely charging, and Jordan is moving. Jordan, of course, the defending CORT Trading Paints Cup Series champion, and had the win in the season finale here back in December. So Jordan very well versed here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
He is, and you try to see, we mentioned all the starts and all the times that Vegas has been on the calendar as well in this series. You try to take that experience throughout the years and throughout the events and carry it through. There's the pass, though. Ericsson's going to get on by Husby. Looked like the 6 was going to cross him up, go right back down to the bottom of the center of 1 and 2. Decided not to. So he did not have as much of a run as he thought he needed. So this top running order has shuffled way up. Riggs now ends up 4th. It is a Ward and Husby 1 and 2 running order. And I don't think we're done with moves yet, because the likes of Anthony Hyatt, just even a Steve Lubender in P7, all these drivers, lap time is better than the 09 car. So that P4 entry and your Pulsitter and Riggs could be struggling on this run.
Yep, these guys are battling really hard here for the 3rd spot now. Husby able to really get going here through the top 3, and as he fades here, or as Riggs fades here, he's going to start facing challenges by Anthony Hyatt and Justin Bland here as we keep going here in this early stages of this event.
In fact, the last time by, we just put 34 laps behind us and took 100 laps to go in the inaugural Hangover 400. It is the showdown at sunrise, as it is still dark conditions here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 5:30 in the morning, sim time, and caution flag is out. We got issues on the back straightaway.
Yeah, that appears to be Kevin Bingle with issues. Very big issues for that 44 car. Let's see if we can get a replay as to see what happened there. Oh, it's a 3-car jam session down the back straightaway there for Bingle. And who else was with him there? It looks like the 97 of Jeff Gross. And
I see Miller in there, the 13.
Yeah, the 13 of Jeffrey Miller there as... what happened here off of 2 here? So, Miller gets the wall, and then those 3 just... you see it a lot here at Las Vegas. It's actually one of the weirdest things. It's a lot of accidents here. Just you get push tight off of 2, and before you know it, you're taking 2 guys with you.
And it can be a little deceptive as well. A lot of the time, if your car's pushing up and you know you're going to be in the fence, you can roll out of the throttle, but it's kind of a deceptive corner as well where you think you're going to make it. And Miller got into the fence, came down, took the 2 cars on his inside out with him, and it was the big hit for Kevin Bingle as he lost both the front and rear end of that race car. Race leaders, though, back down to the pit lane. Second to caution, second trip for service. Brandon Ward, though, your race leader, give the first driver in. He's in pit stall number 6, expecting everybody to go 4 tires and fuel. Well, let's see again how they execute.
Yeah, as we wait for them to come off pit road. As here they go. Husby, Ward, Riggs going to not come out first. It's going to be Ward. Oh, Riggs is going to edge Husby off of pit road. So Riggs will move to the 2nd spot. Husby 3rd, and Jordan Ericsson 4th. Turbo Junker in 5th. And then Justin Bland, Steve Lubender, the rest of the top 10 coming off of pit road there. I just need to say this, and I can't go any further in this broadcast without saying it, and I want to mention it here while we're under the caution flag. We were going to do a tribute on lap 14 for our good friend John Dragonetti. His girlfriend unfortunately passed away last Monday, Kelsey Pinner. They were dating for a year, and we were attempting to get to our tribute for him on lap 14, and we weren't able to do so before due to the connection issues. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a silent lap here under the caution flag for Kelsey Penner. Thank you. And John, just hang in there, buddy. I know it's not exactly the brightest of times right now, but I just want you to know we're all thinking of you, and we're all wishing you the best right now as you go through this difficult time. Thank you. Sorry, Evan, but I wanted to get to that. We were intending on doing that on lap 14, but of course we had the connection issues. But I felt like this was the perfect time to go ahead and do that. So, all right, coming to the restart now as Brandon Ward elects to take the high side on this restart. We got the graphics up and running once again, so we should have everything good to go here on this restart.
And then you'll get the real look of what's been going on here, because it'll be interesting now that Ward has been able to get to the front. Riggs was real good first run through, and then it was kind of all the 57 since then. I mean, you've got a slew of big movers. Husby, Erickson, Hyatt, and Bland. I mean, all these drivers. Even a John Long, who started at P25 but runs in 8th position. Johnny Eckert started 24th. He's still a little bit further down the running order, but is in P11 at the moment. I mean, are these drivers going to continue to go forwards? How does our top 5 look now? And how does it look at another 39 laps from now? So we'll see if Ford's going to be able to stay the fastest, if he can get out at the front and get away. The pace car going to dive down and in. It is Ward on the outside in control. Green flag back in the air. 39 laps down at Vegas. And like we saw last restart, the car behind with a good jump as well. Erickson going to follow him through. He's now race high second.
Yep, Erickson, and he wants the lead. He comes off of turn number 2. He's eyeballing Brandon Ward now 3 wide in the middle of the pack there. And that appears to be Justin Bland getting the wall there in the 65.
He lost a little bit of speed. It brushed off the 65 car up on the outside as he kind of got squeezed there with the 40 and the 6 machine, but he didn't lose a ton of time. In fact, he actually stays in front of Husby still. Could have been a lot worse considering what we saw last time somebody was in the fence there.
Yep, they hang on to it as we work lap 41, second lap of the restart, as that's a good battle there for the 5th spot right now as Bland and Husby battle. Former champions in the CORT Premier Division as they head into turn number 3.
Got these multiple sets side by side with Husby trying to win out in the exchange with the 65 car, and he is going to be able to do so. So Husby stays atop of Bland, who's going to be showing up on the time sheet as the 41. But he's got the 65, I believe, on board that car, and then they got behind him. You got John Fox, Steve Luger, the 22 machine of Julian Door 19, real tight. How's that for a move? I don't know if it was by design or not, but he found the hole, and he nearly took the nose off of the Texaco car behind him.
Yeah, really, that's a lot of trust there. Those guys have been racing for years, and that's knowing Julian is one of those drivers that will let you take that break at lap 41, but I don't know if he'll do it with about 15 to go. So Very fortunate for Steve to merge on up there in front of the Matador, Julian Medora there, as they head off of turn number 2 and head to the back straightaway. And now he doesn't have to worry about clearing them because he's in front of him.
He's got that spot, so we'll see if what goes around comes around, and how they'll race each other, and if a favor is expected in the other direction later on. But the duo in front of the mark playing is nice side by side, as long as made a dive to the inside, so he's trying to get around that number 41 machine of Justin Bland. This battle is for P6 and 7 on the racetrack, and it's that Duncan Ford Mustang at the bottom that is clearing the center, but a big run off it to the 65. And to stick the nose in there, he does not want to roll over and give this one up. So as I continue to call him two different numbers, Justin Bland 65-41 either way, does lose out on that spot as Long's finally got him.
Yep, Long will go ahead and take the 6th spot, and he's going to hang on to it. As you're not missing, it's getting kind of interesting at the front. Brandon Ward facing a battle with Mitchell Riggs and Jordan Erickson there for the 2nd spot, as Riggs attempts to get around Erickson.
Yeah, Riggs has been able to pick the pace back up on this 3rd run of the race because, again, Erickson had gotten him off of the restart. I thought maybe that was the 88's opportunity, to go to the front of the field, but instead the Oneida Division Riggs was able to fight back with them, and as they go side by side, it's going to cost them both a ton of time. They had stayed within 0.2 of a second of Brandon Ward for the Riggs lead, and now all of a sudden it's a half a second difference just 1 lap later. So it is Riggs outside who is able to complete the pass and maintain that spot on track, but at what cost? As Ward had been able to get away for the lead now, and the United's got some face. We'll see what the lap times are going to be. If he can even just get away from Erickson, the 88 car seems pretty intent on not wanting to allow that to happen.
Yeah, he's really trying, and both these guys are taking very aggressive lines through the dogleg, which is causing them to really have to give it a lot of effort to make this pass. You can see Erickson really try and make the pass off of turn number 2, but Riggs is really hanging in there. Riggs, though, I think he's using up his stuff a little early in the run, and Erickson's a much better driver at saving his stuff to the back half of the run. And if that's the case, then I think Erickson's going to have no problem once this gets to about 10-15 laps into the run.
And the first, run of the race as well was only about 10 laps or so before we saw caution flag, and that's when Riggs looked really good. Then we restarted at on lap number 15 or so, and then ran 20 laps. So twice as long of a run that second time through, and that's when he started to fall. Again, had restarted as the race leader and trickled back down to about 4th and 5th position before now being able to get back up to where he sits at the moment. So the long run has not been his friend. Granted, I can't say that 20 laps is a long run, but you can look at a shorter run and a longer run, and it just is by default so far. But we'll see if he can make that equipment last a little bit longer. I mean, he looked real good out of the gates. Maybe that's why he was able to get right back up and challenge Erickson on for the restart. But now you watch lap times as there's a little bit of separation. In fact, everybody inside of the top 9, a single file, and that's only because there is a battle for B10th and 11th. So the race leaders have got some space. This is the fight back in the back. The 42 car on the inside of Aaron Bean, going to get around the 20, but the crossover actually Taylor on the 20 of Bean. Bean back down to the inside as these cars going to duke at it. This is kind of another one of those mid-pack groups of cars where you've got a whole lot of people stacked up on top of each other.
Yeah, and the thing is that these battles can really start to bottleneck everywhere, and then you end up trying to run behind the next guy, and then you think you can make a pass, and then before you know it, you've got like 5 cars all just gaggled together. In fact, you'll probably see it here. Brett Black in the 4, the number 4 car, he's probably looking to get by the 90, and now he's going to get bottlenecked by the 20, so now you're going to just see these guys just constantly try and get around here. That's just how you run here at Las Vegas. You have multiple grooves, so you're able to really battle hard on these restarts.
Yeah, you had mentioned a little bit earlier that these races here tend to play themselves out, and that's not to say that everybody just gets single filed out and we just kind of put around and we all do our single strategies, and we're kind of running individual races with other cars on the racetrack. I mean, that's why I said that Vegas is one of, if not my favorite oval on iRacing, biases aside, because it is just such a fun racetrack to compete at. And of course, I think it's that much more fun when you go racing at at nighttime conditions under the lights, you're talking about real cool track temps as well. Just 68-degree track temps right now at 6 a.m. sim time. So that makes those options that you're given at this facility a little bit more viable, than they already are, which is a racetrack that's sporty day or night.
And while we talk about the track temp being really cool right now, though, you did mention it, 6 a.m. Sim time. The sun's going to be coming up here in about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, and that's only going to heat up the track, and that's going to throw these guys a whole nother loop in this unique format, the Hangover, the brand new major for the Championship Online Racing teams, day or night into day. Something you don't really see anywhere else. I think there's only one other race that's similar to this, and that's the Bathurst 12-hour out in Australia, but that's on a road course, and they get a sight lap, and it's Bathurst. It's crazy. This is Las Vegas, and the dynamics of this race could very well change once the sun comes up.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make. I could also say on top of that in some 7-8 years or so of doing iRacing broadcasts, I can safely say that I've never done a race that started at night and went into the day. Certainly on an oval. I don't do much road racing myself anyways, although we do find it a ton of fun to compete in. But as well, it is not simply like a cosmetic thing or just 110% the gimmick, because with the dynamic weather and the dynamic track surface, it is actually going to have an effect. It is not just a visual difference going from the light or from the night into the light. It is actually going to heat things up, and how this race plays out as well is going to determine how much of a factor that is. If you get a race that has a handful of caution flags and therefore it gets strung out a little bit time-wise, then yeah, it's going to get further into the morning, and it is going to get a little bit hotter. That racetrack going to be that much more difficult to deal with late on. If this race can stay green, you're probably just going to have the sun peeking up from behind the mountains, and it is still going to be relatively cool if this thing's wrapped up at about 7 a.m. or so. But 6:30 to 7 to 7:30 a.m., all those little time intervals will make a big difference. As you're on board with Aaron Bean there as he runs in position 12. You can still see, though, nice and dark, like still full power here at America's Racing Showplace.
Yes, as Brandon Ward continues to lead in the 57, and he's checked out a little bit. 1.1 second lead on Jordan Erickson, and Mitchell Riggs coming in the third spot, 1.6 seconds back, and then Anthony Hyatt and Mike Husby make up the top 5. Trying to find a battle here. I think we might have one a little bit deeper in the field, and that would be the 20 and the 4. It's the admin crew. It's Aaron Bean in the 20, the series director for this CORT National Series, and the series director of the CORT MH Design Series ran on Tuesday nights. That's the 4 of Brett Black.
Yeah, got a handful of different series here with the Championship Online Racing teams. Of course, the National Series that you're seeing in play now. You've also got the MH Design Series, the Port Bunday Road Division, the Extreme Midget Tour, and the Tuesday designed series combined, where you do got, of course, those multiple different classes of cars competing. So, as well, just to look as we see if the former sheet is going to be able to get up and challenge Beat for this position. The fact that we started this race with 40 drivers, still 35 cars on the lead lap as we lead into the halfway point here shortly. So, everybody's still very competitive. Only, I believe, 2-3 cars may be out of this race. It's Kevin Bingle and John Wood behind the wall, but other than that, we're all still racing, and one of those is for position. 4 cars got it down low, and Brett Black's going to make the move, and he's not on his own. He's bringing friends with him. How about the 37 machine? He'll go by down low as well.
Yep, and that is Keiten Mummersbach in the 37, the defending Fuel IndyCar Series champion, taking the 13th spot from Beam. Keiten with a really, really good run here, and, that's a guy right there who has done some amazing stuff in other disciplines. He's an IndyCar champion over in the Fuel Racing League, and, he's not really known as a stock car driver, but I'm telling you, I really think he might break out here in the next little bit, as that's a big move right there on the inside. That's James Gutta in the 86 car, the Brenton and Steve Toyota Auto Racing Development, or Bastard number 86. Right there, trying to get around Nick Stoller there.
Yeah, that was quite the send off into turn 3. He was able to get the inside of positioning. So I think this time, now down at 1 and 2, is going to be the actual attempt to to make the pass on the 98 car, who is going to hold the top side hard and strong, so not willing to roll over his next staller up top. But finally, as we get back down and off at a turn 3, he does make the move, and once again, it is a 2-for move. One car breaks through in the bottom, another car comes on by. Dylan Gooden picks up the loose change. He makes the pass as well. That'll drop Staller back into position 17 in a 98 car, but immediate relief, because there's a ton of cars right here. As you look at Gutta there, you got Gooden, Staller, Lindsay, Dotson, Johnsman, all these drivers kind of stacked up. This battle goes all the way through about P19.
Yeah, let's focus real quick there. There's a battle right behind them, a little bit further behind. It's Johnny Parham and Tony Johns there. Tony Johns in the 31. Tony Johns, longtime sim racer, longtime member of the Championship Online Racing teams. And I tell you what, this guy right here, he's got stories. He's forgotten more about sim racing than I could ever forget, or that I could ever remember. This guy right here, Tony Johns, he's a great driver, a great person to have here in this league, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out because he's doing a great job here. He's in 21st, but I guarantee you, his racecraft, he'll be running near the front near the end.
Yeah, he started up P9 and is back here to mid-pack, so he's trying to kind of get back to where this thing all kicked off from. And I could also, comfortably say, as I've perused, of course, through the field watching, the battles take place, that I think that 31 machine is going to be, if not at least one of the top 3 looking cars in the field tonight, for what that worth.
Well, I mean, the man did used to work for Action Express, or Action Racing Collectibles. So, hey, I just want to give you a quick heads up. I'm starting to see the sky lighten up a little bit. This is going to get really interesting here in the next little bit, because I can start to see a little bit of gray in the sky, a little bit of orange kicking around ever so slightly. The sun's going to start coming up here shortly.
Yeah, that onboard shot right there. I mean, you can see it as the drivers, as we go down the back straightaway, as you can see it in contrast with the grandstands. Down in 3, it is no longer the pitch black of night. The time continues to rapidly accelerate through the sim. And we will certainly, actually, as of, the next time by, or the time after this, for your race leaders who already passed the start-finish, next time by, we're going to be taking lap number 67, and that would put us past halfway home.
And we have a lead change.
Race.
Jordan Erickson has taken the lead.
Got it. 88, how about that? We were talking about, could he do it when he took over that second position, getting around Riggs, and admittedly, I mean, it didn't look like he was pressing all that aggressively, so we take a moment to go back and look to the field, and you blink your eyes, next thing you know, he's on through, made that pass at lap number 64 for the race lead, and now that he's in the clean air, he's starting to pull away a little bit.
Yeah, big move by Jordan Erickson there to take the lead, Brandon Ward, and these guys are really spaced out from third. Mitchell Riggs is all the way back, 3 seconds back now. John Long in 4th, Anthony Hyatt 5th. Actually, there's been a change. 5th place has just changed hands. Mike Husby and Anthony Hyatt are battling hard for that 5th spot.
Yeah, it's changed on the scoring pylon, but these drivers are not in agreement on if it's going to be over yet. Hyatt up top trying to get the job done here. He has been chased down, though, by Husby for the last few laps. These cars have also been dealing with a good bit of lap traffic as well a few laps ago that checked them up, but outside line, get in a place that's got all the speed down the Nellis straightaway, slicing to the inside, and Anthony Hyatt now sole possession of 5th on the racetrack. Not as much in the plus-minus department as John Long in front of him, who's gained some 21 spots from the start, but it is still a good march forward. Anthony Hyatt right there, his 9th pass of the race, but he caught the fence, I think, going into one. I saw a little bit of shower of sparks back, lost a little bit of speed, and here we go! The 19's into the wall! The 22 Amador's there as well. The 22's into the inside of fence. Luvender hanging on. So far, staying green, but it's a mess on the back.
And we stay green, yeah. The series director has the ability to throw the caution, but it appears as if that will not be coming here, as that's a tough break for Julian Mador. He seems to be still moving. He's still going, but as you can see on the tack there, it appears as if he might have some engine damage there, and that's not good, especially just past halfway.
And that was just, wrong place, wrong time for him because it was Luvender in front of him trying to look to the outside of Mike Husby and really didn't knows wasn't in position, but because the 19 machine was going to get the run off of the corner, the spot was all but his. I just don't think Hyatt was paying attention because he was following, or I guess it's just that Husby wasn't paying attention. He was looking at the back bumper to Hyatt in front of him, and that effectively drove the 19 car up and into the fence, and I think that car as well just got tightened, but it was Mador who kind of locked the bumpers with him off of the corner, and he spun down and got that Jeff Gordon wall on the inside where we saw a car hit already earlier in this race, and it's going to mess up their nights. That drops 2 cars just like that, though, out of, some top running positions. So cycle everybody else up mid-pack at least 2 spots. Luvender is still in this race. He's currently scored P19 and actually got away without any damage. You saw the replay right there on how it all went down. Luvender's P19 car didn't look all that bad, so I think it certainly could have been a lot worse. But, of course, we went to the onboard with Mador right after it happened. He is struggling now, P29.
Yeah, and you know what? Looking back at the replay, it almost looks like it was a reactionary thing for Julian there. It almost looked like he just kind of, I don't know if he got hooked or if he panicked or whatever, but it looked like he kind of just hooked it right to the left. And, yeah, just unfortunate for Julian there, and that's a darn shame. He had a really good run going here tonight. Erickson is still your leader, as we mentioned. Brandon Ward, we're trying to see, there's good battle here for the 8th spot. Brandon Ward, or Brett Black, and Johnny Eckert, former champions in the CORT Premier Series, battling here for the 8th and 9th spot.
And 4 cars been the one on the move. Remember, it was just a little bit ago that he was trying to make the pass. And Aaron Bean, who's back in 13th. So Black has been marching his way through the field right now, already occupying 9th. And, of course, wants to get into the top 8 first time tonight. As we're seeing a lot of drivers go plus-minus in this race. You look at the top 10, only 4 of the drivers running top 10 right now started in a top 10 running position. And that number may continue to trickle down as this race goes on, as a lot of those mid-pack or cars drivers who, again, may have just been concerned of not putting down a blistering lap, but just a lap that would get them top 40 to get into the race. Now with a fast race-pace car, try to get through all of the traffic, and it continues to get that much brighter as the sun starts to rise in Vegas. This fight, though, again, still P8.
Oh, yeah, the sun's coming up, but this fight's not over as they go into turn number 3. Brett Black trying to get back to Johnny Eckert. Johnny Eckert's the only 3-time champion of the CORT Premier Division. As we focus a little bit further ahead, Husby and Hyatt going at it again for 5th.
In this 5th spot as well is that 3-car trio, as we'll see if the 42 machine of Steven Taylor's going to be patient. He ended up in the bumper of the 6 car right there. He was kind of taking a single file entry, but the 6 car could not attack 1 like he would have wanted to, being side by side. And because of that, he just about punched him. I think there might have been, if there was contact, it was ever so slight. But he was able to keep it off, and they stay in a deadlock side by side with a 40 of Anthony Hyatt on the bottom. The 6 car of Mike Husby. There he is again up at the outside line. And Steven Taylor just trying to wait to see which lane he wants to go. It looks like the 4 is going to be on the bottom for the now. Let's take those 2 battles we were talking about, put them together, because here comes Eckert and Black. The 90 got real tight into turn 2, so Brett Black going to pass him for P8 as those 2 catch up to this 3-car group.
And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, about, having 2 cars run side by side, and then they end up bottlenecking, and then they bottleneck around another guy, and before you know it, you got like a 7-car pack. That's what happens here at Las Vegas, and that's what's happening right now. We got 5 cars almost under a blanket, and you could even argue John Long is falling back to Anthony Hyatt here.
Yeah, he's got a kind of a buffer because it has been all Jordan Erickson since he took over the race lead. You can see the intervals going across the top of your screen right down for the race leaders. The advantage first second, about a second and a half and change. And then Ward is way ahead of Mitchell Riggs, who's kind of in no man's land P3, 4 seconds behind the car in front of him, 2 seconds ahead of the car behind. But then, Long is the last driver who isn't really on his own island. He is kind of the lead car of everybody else, but a half a second of that yellow number 40 Toyota Supra of Hyatt, who is the de facto leader of this group of the last time by. They were all faster than John Long was. They've been able to close the gap in just a little bit, so maybe the damage. I see a little bit of right rear damage on the 26. Not sure if that's being a factor or not, but we're going to go from a 3-car group to a 5 to maybe 6.
Yeah, it's starting to really bottle up here from about 5th through to 10th. So really exciting racing here in the top 10. Looking like this is probably the best battle. Oh, no, you know what? Husby and Black are battling for the 7th spot in this pack right here. So let's focus in on that. Brett Black trying to get the pass on Husby here.
Everybody wants to fight at the same time because as Black goes to the inside of Husby, the 42 of Taylor tried to get to the inside of Hyatt, wasn't able to make it stick. The 4-car is able to. So Brett Black on the move has marched his way now to a race high P7. His next target would be this duo of Hyatt and Taylor. We're able to separate just a little bit. I mean, you can see this big gaggle of race cars. You can look from 4th position through 13th on track. They are all separated by just over 2 seconds on track time. The cars in front of 4th and the car behind behind 13th are that same distance apart time-wise. So you've got this big kind of pressure cooker of race cars all here inside of the top 10 on top of each other.
Yeah, that's what's so dynamic about, and what I was mentioning about this group nationals here, as we see James Gutta working himself into this battle here. James Gutta now working into this battle. He's now into the 9th spot, and now he's working on Eckert for 8th. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is a series where it's a fixed setup series. It's a league series, but it's so tight. It's almost like an iRacing split. It's so tight in this series as far as the talent goes.
And that goes all the way back to the very start of the night when we mentioned, of course, how tight the intervals were in the qualifying session. And I think it goes to show as there's going to be contact at it, too, with a lap car in the 93 of Steve Boylan. He was on the outside. The 40 of Hyatt did not want to give up his quarter exit, and he hit him. The 40 car had to pick that thing up in the back straight away, hung on to it. I think he's lucky that that race car is just in it to begin with. There's the second look at the contact that happened at a turn 2, but it is an open up door for 42 Machina Taylor. He gets a nose in front at the start-finish line. They're going to fight for P5 and 6, and here comes Brett Black from behind. The 3rd car in this group as the 42 now completes the pass.
Yep, Brett Black trying to be a menace with this group, but he's just standing there. As now it appears that Boylan's still having issues. They're trying to get through, or trying to yield to the leaders, but that continues to happen. But big battle here for about the 7th on the back. Monte Dotson, the man they call Overshot, running in this 9th spot. Really good run for him here at Vegas here as we get into the daylight.
Yeah, he's been able to crack his way into the top 10. In fact, I think he is the biggest mover of the night. That would put him at about, plus 27 or so from where he started this race. Math is not my strong suit, so we're hoping that's in the ballpark. But, yeah, I mean, he's been way up, P36 to P9. I also just saw that time through that a couple of cars on pit road maybe had a pit cycle because Anthony Hyatt, a driver that we've been talking about a lot on the pit lane, rated about 50 laps to go to make what could be the final pit stop of the afternoon.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting into those final stops here as we get into these final stops. So you got to start picturing that Jordan Erickson, who is currently enjoying a nice 2.566 second lead, has got to be starting to think when he's going to come in for that final stop.
And of course, the quicker that you get onto the fresh rubber, the faster that race car is going to be when you get back out onto the track. We'll use your race leader as an example as we look at him. Jordan Erickson's best lap came on the first restart of the afternoon, a 31.244. The last time by, a 32.799. So you're looking at a second and a half of tire fall off between fresh rubber and old tires. So that means that for every lap you're out there, in theory, Well, the car has undercut you. It has already got off the pit lane. You could be giving up about a second and a half every single time by. Now, it does balance itself up with the fact that this is not going to be a short dash to the end. You're still looking at a healthy length of fuel run and run to the end of this race. So then when you eventually pit, sure, you're giving up time before then. You'll then have fresher tires and try to make some of it up. And all of that's something to keep an eye on is, how about 3 wide around some lap traffic? 88 car not looking slow there.
Nope, he's getting by these cars as fast as he can. He doesn't care if it's 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide, all wide. He's going for it as he gets around Mason Dunn. And going back to our point about the competitive balance of this league, Mason Dunn set the fastest lap of this race, and he's currently being lapped. So that should tell you everything you need to know about the competitive balance of the Championship Online Racing teams right now.
Yeah, 100% wide open as he's, in fact, trying to hang on to a lead lap spot. He's one of those other drivers who gets...
Oh, trouble right in front of the leader. It's the 49 of Alex Ripstein right in front of the leader, Sean Sadler. Caution is out, but a scary moment for the leader right in front of him.
Yeah, 2 cars got together on the entry to turn number 1. It all started with Ripstein in the fence. You can see the sparks there. It was that number 49 who just got the fence, lost some speed. Sadler got into the back of him, and that 88 machine is so thankful that the car that got up into the outside wall stayed up on the outside. There's the contact leader race leader right there, hard into the wall. He's right below him. That car bounces down. It could be night over for Ericsson. Instead, we get a yellow at lap number 90. We'll slow things down, and there's only 18 cars on the lead lap with all the pit stops that have kicked off.
Yeah, and that's just terrible timing for anybody who made their stop here. Yeah, they could get the wave around if the rest of the lead lap pits here, but the middle of green flag pit stops is the one time you don't want a caution, and look what happened.
And it seems that that's the risk. I talked about the benefits of going for the undercut and getting the tires, that you're going to be faster sooner and get the track position, but you do have to give. It takes you about a lap time, a whole lap cycle to get off of the racetrack, drive down pit road, get service to get back out. And I had made the point a couple laps ago about how we still had so many cars in this race. I think I said 35 in a lead lap at that point, almost cut in half with 18. So it certainly makes a big difference. It is going to be a spread-out group of race leaders still onto the pit lane. Jordan Erickson going to get those tires on as slow as he wants. As long as it happens, he should be able to maintain the lead off of the pit lane. They're going to go for 4 tires fuel and go the distance.
Yep, and that will be... This is definitely your last stop. Unless there's some sort of late caution and you want to come in and get fresh rubber, this should be your last stop of the evening, as here comes Erickson off the pit lane. He will get off first, followed by Brett Black with the 4 car making a strategy play there. DeMonte Dotson, Dylan Gooden, and then Johnny Eckert, Mike Husby, Kighton, Johnny Parham, Tony Johns, Aaron Bean, Patrick Lindsay, Robert Hill, and the 08 of Alex Boffoli there on pit road. Extended pit stop here for Steve Luvender. Gotta wonder if he's getting some of that damage fixed from that situation that happened off of turn number 2 earlier on in that run.
I'll tell you what, the car doesn't look that bad, but it has gotten a couple of scrapes here and dings there, and I'm sure it all adds up. But he's going to be, pretty easily now as he drives off of the pit lane to get that car back out onto the racetrack without losing a lead lap. So just a little bit of damage repair to get that thing as close as you can back to 100%. Never going to drive like it did when he took it off of the trailer at the start of the night, but any sort of repair is certainly going to help. And while, yes, you may not be able to tell, Ericsson is still the race leader, but he's in the middle of a big line of cars. Some lapped cars were not able to pit until this time by, so they head down to the pit lane, but there is still that healthy number of drivers looking to get waved around. I believe 18th position through 25th. Riggs, Ward, Clark, Miller, Blend. You got Gouda, Hyatt, Warren. I think those are all drivers looking to get waved by. To back lead lap, and you can really see now the sun lighting up the sky in 1 and 2. The lights are still on, so it is not full-blown daylight yet, but we are certainly coming out of the darkness, and this race is going to end with some track temps going up and a very different atmosphere to what the race has been to this point.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. It's going to be really, really interesting here once the sun fully comes out. Still got the stadium lighting on. Still got the Musco lighting on here at the moment. But, yeah, it is going to only get warmer. In fact, why don't we check our weather right now? With the sun now up, it is still 63 degrees and still 66 with the track temp. But what we haven't mentioned is look at that wind. 15 to 18 miles an hour directional to the north. It is blowing pretty good, which can't really be all that great for these drivers here as they battle the wind here.
I can attest, and I guess it also carries over to sim racing, that Vegas is a very breezy place, and it comes and you get big wind gusts, especially out at the racetrack, which is why you mentioned starting this race at night. Going to the Truck Series race at Vegas, always one of my favorites because it has been the traditional night race, and it's been a lot cooler because getting sandblasted out at the Speedway while also cooking in the sun, not the funnest of combinations. So I can confirm that Vegas is a very gusty place. So those 50-mile-an-hour winds, not surprised at all as the realistic weather is on for this race.
Yeah, realistic weather, dynamic sky. As if you want to get a little peek as to what these drivers are going to be staring at as they come through here on this run, and you're going to start seeing that sun is going to start rising over the back straightaway berm there, right behind the Nellis Air Force Base, or right next to it, Nellis Air Force Base, I should say. So these guys are going to be seeing the sun probably right in their eyes as they exit turn number 2 and head down the back straightaway as we come to the latter stages of this one.
And as you mentioned, when the pit stops are being completed, lights still on top of the pace car, so not going green quite yet, but that this would be, if this thing were to race out, to be the final cycle of pit stops on the night. These drivers can go the distance this time by. In fact, we're going to see 40 laps to go in this race. However, last time we saw a caution flag, we had a run that only went a handful of laps. We were under yellow at about lap 11 or so, went back green for 15, and then slowed it back down at 36. So about a 20-lap run. So we can break this out, go green like we just saw, or this thing could get into a little bit of chaos late. You never know. And we get set to get this one back and away with Ericsson leading the way. He has been very good out in front. Restart going to be, the best opportunity and the best indicator on who can get the job done. Brett Black, first time he's been this close. Devontae Dodson, you mentioned making the move up at a third spot. I mean, there's names up top 5, top 10 that have been there all night, but for a handful of them, it's the highest they have been. So can they continue to climb? Could Brett Black maybe be the challenger on the 88 car?
Yep. He's going to probably be the best one here, and he's probably got to be the best attempt, or, wow, I can't really English tonight. He might be the best shot at challenging Ericsson for the win right now. You'll have to see, though, if, Brandon Ward really kind of got messed up by that pit strap, by the caution coming out, so if you can get a quick yellow and they all come in again, or later on in this run, look at Brandon Ward if he can get his way back through the field.
He's going to be log jammed back at P number 19. The pace car off and away, though, is it for the final time this morning? As the 88 machine of Ericsson puts the right foot down, and it goes back up through the gears. Green flag back in the air. Here's a challenge for a second, though. Dodson going to try to get around Black. Both these cars are to make this pass ASAP before the 88 gets away.
Well, the Menards machine trying to get around the Trading Paints car as they come off of turn number 2. Not quite able to do it, but they're going to take this battle to turn number 3.
4-car wins out up top, so Black defends second. First time we've seen that. The last 2 restarts, that third car in line had made the move. So Brett Black is able to hold off Dodson, who sits third. Then he's followed by Johnny Eckert in fourth. You got Mike Husby, P5, Gooded. You got Boomer's Match. You got Parham, Johns, Bean. I mean, those are the rest of your top 10 runners. But Ericsson checked out off that restart. He's got a half a second advantage at a turn 2. That fight for a second, the more convincing one right now.
Yeah, this one is going to get really good. And then you throw in Johnny Eckert into this, a driver who has won at Las Vegas before, and This is going to get really, really good as they have a 3-car jam session now as they head into turn number 3. Dotson still trying to make that pass on the inside, and in fact, he might actually get a run. This is probably the best chance he's had so far, but now he opens the door for Eckert to make a shot at it, but not quite able to do so. But here comes Eckert on the high side. He might have momentum.
And he almost was clear on the inside as he drove it in hard and into the corner, but the 4-car fought back, and it is going to go the opposite direction. I thought Dotson was going to be a +1 on that lap. Instead, he'll lose the spot because not only did Brett Black stay in the front, but there goes the 90 of Johnny Eckert topside. So the 90 car now moves into third. Dotson drops to fourth. Husby, the other car in line here, and you can see on those wide shots a little bit of side-by-side action as well throughout the rest of the field. But as it pertains to this, Ericsson is only getting further away from this melee for P2 on back.
Yep, as it's really going to come down to if Eckert can make a move. Oh, trouble! Hit the wall right there. DeMonte Dotson got the wall off of 4 that time, and he might lose some spots here.
It just clipped it on the exit. It was actually a pretty good hit there. The 6-car immediately dove to the inside and passed him. But it looks like Dotson is going to be able to get the water wings on in time to not drown. And he does not fall further than P5 for the moment. I think he may have just been able to check that thing up in the nick of time to not totally smash that car and knock the toe out of it or really hurt it. We'll see, though, because he's got, Kyton Bommersbach on his inside, or Bommersbach, I should say, coming in the 37 machine into P6. So, maybe it is hurting Dotson a little bit, but more side-by-side fighting. It's for second. Johnny Eckert made the pass for third. Now he wants P2.
Here comes the Nassau County Nightmare. Johnny Eckert takes the second position right now, and he will clear Brett Black as they come down the front straightaway, and the sun is up. It is going to start getting warmer, and now it is business time with less than 32 laps to go.
Yeah, sun's up. I think the lights are off as well, so we are full-blown daylight conditions now at Vegas, and you can see this fight for second on the back continues to be the convincing one. I had mentioned that that restart was going to be so critical for the second group of cars, if they were going to be able to challenge Ericsson, if they were going to fight amongst themselves. And you can see it top left hand side of your screen now, 102 laps down, 32 laps to go from Vegas in this inaugural Hangover 400. 6-car Brett Black now going to try to get on the inside because it's Husby on the attack. I really thought the 4-car was going to have a lot more on this run, but he's been under a constant barrage since we went back green.
Yeah, and now here goes Husby to the inside of Black, and now Brett Black will move all the way back down to the 4th spot. DeMonte, however, is facing pressure now from Kyton Bommersbach in the 37.
He's been another driver who's had a different sort of night to everybody else. You got Dotson, who started 36th and 5th, and all the cars around him have been big plus-minus swings, and instead that 37 machine started a P8, and he actually runs in 6th now 5th on the racetrack. So it's just kind of been the consistent driver through all of this. One of now only 3 drivers who started inside of the top, 13, that actually still run in the top 13 on the racetrack right now. But your top 5, Ericsson leads, Eckert second, Husby now third, with Brett Black P4. And they have all stretched things out just a little bit. Some fighting is going on in the top 10 as the 75. Dylan Gooden's going to peek to the inside just behind that 37. He's trying to make a move as Dotson now struggles on this run.
Yeah, and remember what I mentioned about Tony Johns being near the front at the end? Here he is running in the 8th spot, recovered well from that, being deep in the field on that long run, has patiently worked his way up there, and now he sits in the 8th spot.
He has been started up front, and when we checked in with him and he made that note, he was kind of right in the middle of P21, and now creeping back into the top 10. As obviously has a fast race car, he's able to keep up with it, but at the same time, as well, just drives a good strategy and did not get caught out on that unlucky cycle of pit stops. So the yellow flag came out. Same can't be said for the likes of Mitchell Rins back in 15th position, and somebody like a Brandon Ward and those other drivers. I saw some smoke in 1 and 2, but I think it was just somebody burning up the tires because it looks clear at a 2.
Yeah, it was some warp from Dylan Gooden there in the 6th spot. He's had that a little bit every now and then tonight. I've seen it in passing. So looks like they're going to let it keep going. The court administration does have the ability to black flag a driver if he does have excessive warp, but that is plenty acceptable.
Yeah, he's going to be okay, especially, if the technical issues earlier was represented on track as well. It's been quite the chaos. That's why I made the point of mentioning that's not what's happening on track. I mean, you have a little blink of the car, for a split second like that, and it can really throw a driver off. So everything on track has been A-okay. Nobody's had any sort of issues like that tonight. And I will say, don't look now, but a fight for the race lead may be on deck because, there's a lot going on in the pack, but Eckert has sliced that advantage for Jordan Erickson from 0.6 of a second down to 3. And he's bringing Husby with him in 3rd as well. So Erickson not done yet as this race closes in now to 25 to go this time by.
You got to wonder if some of these guys might have used their practice during the week for this time right here. Because this track will drive completely different at the tail end of this race than it will at the beginning of this race when we're under the stadium lights. Because now the sun's out. Now it's getting hotter. It's getting warmer. It's going to get greasy. And that is something that these guys, it's so unique. There's never been a race like this in the Championship Online Racing team. So this is so different than what they're used to.
And I can confirm as well, you talked about the sun being in the driver's eyes. That's normally something that you struggle with coming out of Turn 4 because it kind of sets off in Turn 1. But again, because it is a sunrise, not a sunset, that sun's over in Turn 2. So these drivers are dealing with that through quarters 1 and 2 as it starts to pick out really that center off as they're getting it in the eyes before they duck back into the shade just a little bit. So you're also dealing right there. You can see the shade down the back straightaway. Not only is the track going to be changing, but it's going to be changing differently depending on if it's the track that's in the sun or not in the sun. So it's not just that it's all heating up, but majority of the racetrack's still in the shade, but turns 1 and 2 are going to be a lot hotter and slicker.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to wreak havoc with these guys because they'll go into 1 and 2 and think, I got to run this line, I got to run here, I got to run here, and then they'll get in 3 and 4 where there's still a little bit of shade, and they'll be like, what the hey, I can run anywhere. But this is getting good for the lead, though. Erickson is definitely feeling the pressure from the Nassau County Nightmare of Johnny Eckert.
And he's brought friends. Again, don't count out Mike Husby. So many times tonight we've seen, not even just in the battle for the race lead, but we did see this in that very first stint. But, we've seen it throughout the entire field tonight where somebody catches up, they get side by side, and if you can't make that pass within a lap or two and you're stuck 2 by 2, then the third car in line joins in, and the fourth, because you're slowing yourself down, not making those optimal trips around the racetrack, and then it just gets a lot more chaotic than it needs to be. So Husby could be a challenger from third. You got Brett Black out with the 4 car, not that far behind as well. But I think at minimum, Erickson is going to have his hands full with a Johnny Eckert, who continues to challenge that now down to just 0.2 of a second. I think it works itself out to be about 3-4 car lengths.
Yeah, and Eckert is starting to reel him in as we'll go on board with the 90 Chevrolet of Johnny Eckert to kind of really show you that the sun is getting a little bit better, but they're still going to be dealing with it a little bit off of turn number 2 as he starts to reel in that Mustang of Erickson here as they come off of 4. He gets a little bit lower of an entry, but that's going to allow Erickson to really build up the momentum, so they're really even here with about 20 laps to go.
And I wonder if the 88 machine had been conserving a little bit. Not that you're willing to give up the advantage. I'm sure he would have just appreciated it to have the same advantage. Just lapped car in the fence above them. That might have been a bit of a pucker moment, but everybody A-okay as Alex Ripstein's able to hold it up on the outside and not play a factor in this one. But of course, at this point, yes, it is a pretty long run to the end of the race. As that time by, it was 20 laps to go from LVMS, but at some point, you have to decide, am I going to push the race car out to stay in front, or do I really think that it's going to make that much of a difference over the next 20 laps that I don't push it? I let them tear up their equipment, and then we go at it. It seems like Ericsson would much rather just play defense here and drive that car hard than play, allowing Eckert to get on by and then try to conserve and get back at him. He does not want the 90 car to get on by. Husby's dropped off a tad bit. The third and fourth place battle may come before the battle for the lead, as they're all starting to duck down onto the apron now, giving it everything they can.
Yeah, and that's a battle between Mike Husby and Brett Black, two longtime administrators of the Championship Online Racing teams and two former champions as they come off of turn number 2. Husby still hanging on to that spot, but he's facing a lot of pressure from the Mustang of Brett Black.
And Black started this race 18th. He's been one of the drivers we've been talking about. How about some more movers? Dylan Goodett up to P5. Tony Johns has made some more passes since we last checked in with him. He's now in the number 6 position. So you've got drivers on the charge, along with Ward and Buffoli and all the way through Johnny Parr. Oh, and there's contact! The 91 car, as I mentioned him. He's down onto the apron, back on track. He is going to get tagged, and it's a mess in turns 1 and 2, but he's on the apron. No yellow. Does it stay green?
Wow.
No, there it is.
There it is.
I thought we might have gotten away with it, but there was like, 2-3 different wrecks in that all at once?
Yeah, and that was a little sketchy on the rejoin by Parham there. Just, they make contact through the tri-oval, and then when they come back up, Parham I get he's got a lot of momentum, but I feel like he could have maybe ducked it down a little lower than that. It's kind of careless by Parham there, but anyways, we got a caution here with about 14 to go, and it's going to really shake things up now.
He had some contact from behind, but he came back up into the field. It's where it really kicked off, and a driver he made contact with was Mitchell Riggs, the driver who started on a pole. If he doesn't get cut out in that strategy and get back there mid-pack, he's not making those desperate moves, and that's how yellows and the timing of them can play havoc on how a race plays out. But kind of halfway through what would have been the run to the end, so they don't need a fuel to go the distance. However, they are going to opt to come down to the pit lane. 4 tires. Do they go for 4? That's been the call all night. Does somebody get desperate enough to go maybe just for a 2-tire stop for some track position? We'll see. Ericsson, first car in. He's pit stall number 16.
Yeah, he's coming in now as the rest of the field is in. As Ericsson will get rights. Will he get lefts? Yes, he will get 4 tires here. Not a full tank of fuel as we go back to the pit lane exit to see who will get out of pit lane first. And it appears that Eckert has edged out Ericsson for the lead on pit road.
Got him.
Wow, here we go. So now he's made the pass on the pit road, and Johnny Eckert is now your new leader of the Hangover 400 after caution flag pit stops with 14 laps to go.
He came into the pit lane right on the bumper of Jordan Ericsson, and admittedly, looking at the stop for the 88, it did take that car to get a little bit up and onto the jacks, and it may have been that he was a little bit, off on the entry to the box, but, I mean, it was certainly no noticeable error. I think it was just that the 90 car lucks out that little bit quicker, maybe a little bit faster as well, get it out of the box with navigating traffic and trying to spin the tires and maybe driving it harder in on the brakes into the box. Whatever the case may be, Eckert does win the race off of the pit lane, so he'll end up in front of Jordan Ericsson. There are cars on track right now that did not decide to pit, but these do not appear to be lead lap cars trying to stay out to win the race. I think these are all drivers still trying to recover from getting caught out on a pit cycle there and get back just to the lead lap.
Yeah, and looking at the delta on pit road there, Eckert on pit road was a 39.4, and Ericsson on pit road was a 40 flat. So that goes to show you how important getting down pit road, keeping the speed limit, getting back out of your stall, and hitting the speed limit again is so vital to a pit stop, because that might be the difference in this one.
And we'll see if it comes down to one restart or if it comes down to several. We can squeeze a few in the amount of time we've got left in this race. Nothing's to say, that it can run itself out. And it also goes without saying, of course, that the restart going to be the deciding factor. Of course, you got to watch to see which lane Johnny Eckert's going to choose, and that's, I think, is going to be more of a factor not on Ericsson, who's going to be up alongside him in second, whether it be to his right-hand side or to his left-hand side, but it's going to be a big effect on who sits third, because if he starts on the bottom, he's going to have Brett Black behind. The 4 car presumably would then get a better restart and follow the 90 through, or if he goes to the outside, he'll be helping a 75 and Dylan Gooden out, and that could be the car that comes through. We've talked about Eckert Ericsson the conversation for the race win tonight. Not that Dylan Gooden's been that quiet, David, but he has not been one of the drivers that we've been talking about challenging for the race win. He has now got just as good of an opportunity as anybody else as the lights go out on top of the pace car.
Yeah, and that's something that is really impressive for Gooden, because this is his first race of the season, and he's right here in the top 5, in the tail end of this thing. He's got a good shot at it. And he's got 1 Premier Series victory. He won the Brickyard 200 back in the fall last season at Indianapolis. So he's looking for his 2nd Premier Series victory, and this would be another major for him to win. 2 races, 2 majors would be pretty darn sweet for him here. Yeah, but here we come to the restart. We're going to have 11 to go, and remember, we could have a couple more restarts. We also have 2 green-white checker attempts, too. That could come into play as well.
Should we need it, we can push things into a little bit of overtime. Of course, Eckert, driver up at points like he would like to be, has only made 2 of the starts so far of the 3 this season. Not only looking for a win, still looking, for first top 5, first 10 of this 2028 campaign. Let's go back on top of the pace car. I think there's a lot of cars strung out in the back, still trying to get sorted out. So hold your horses at least more time through.
Yeah, that appears to be the case, Evan, is that they appear to be having some issues with the cars getting the wave around, getting caught back up. So we'll go and have another lap under the safety car here. Maybe they were doing it for dramatic effect, though. Maybe they were making it a little more dramatic for these guys up front. Maybe raise the temperature a little bit.
I'll tell you what, if if Gooden or Black gets to somebody and they come up a lap short, then they're gonna wish that this thing had ended up being a 12 lap to go restart and an 11 lap run to the end, like it will be. Again, just to reset, you can see that full running order going across the top of the screen, but it is Johnny Eckert who selected the side on the front row for the restart, doubled up with Jordan Ericsson. So these 2 are fun for the race win in this one, and we'll see how it shakes. Got Dylan Brett Black on row 2, Tony Johns and Steve Luvender on row 3. That 19 machine has had quite the up and down evening, but he's recovered and has got a shot at this one. Mason Dunn and Aaron Bean on row 4, and then Brandon aboard John Long, 9th and 10th position. That is the restart through row 5, but this round will come 28 cars total, still scored on the lead lap with an opportunity to fight for the checkered flag. It is going to happen this time through. Pace car added in. Will it be for the final time tonight? We get set to go back green. 11 laps to go at Vegas.
And Eckert gets away. Great restart for Eckert, and he's going to be bringing along Dylan Gooden with him. And he tries to chop him off going into 1.
He'll slide right down to the white line, try to cut the 88 machine off
trouble
with
in
a
the
big slide by Ericsson. He's sideways as well. He's into the outside wall at a 2. There's a big mess in the center, and they're going to wad him up at a turn 2.
All right. Let's find out what happened here.
Wrecking up front, wrecking out back.
Yeah, I think it looked like it started with the 21 of Aaron Bean there. And let's see if we can get a replay on that.
Because, of course, as all that's happening, the contact, they were 2-3 wide. We had some drivers blocking to go into the corner. I think it was Bean on the bottom, maybe, who got a little bit out of shape. The replay here will give you a better idea. But also the big block, you can see right there, maybe Lubender to the inside of him. And the cars start to break sideways. It was a good attempt at saving, but off of the restart, you just can't get away with that.
Yeah, that was a giant accident down the back straightaway of this one, and a lot of good cars taken out. Mitchell Riggs, our points leader, was in that one, and he got hit a couple of times in that one. Looks like he got hit by Alex Rifting and Steve Boylan there, so tough break for a lot of these guys here late in the going here at Las Vegas.
And the big thing as well is there was almost a wreck with Ericsson. So as you caught all of the chaos out of back, I thought Jordan Ericsson was going to be the one to crash. Because, again, he got blocked by the 90 off into turn 1. And we'll get, to see how the 88 machine is in 4th position now. He just got way sideways and got up, and the replay will show it here. There was no contact. The car just broke loose, and then he ended up in the outside wall at a 2. Somehow does not wreck with the 75 to boot. And watch this as he brakes, and he pushes up into the wall. There's the slight contact. I don't know how 2nd, 3rd, and 4th aren't junked in that case.
That's a crazy save by Ericsson. That is amazing. I don't think he got the wall either. I don't think he touched it. That's pretty impressive right there by Ericsson.
Quite the drive, and he's able to, not only just save the race car, but, stay in this thing. He's still, with at least a restart to go, and you mentioned the possibility of overtime with 2 green-white checkered attempts should it be necessary. Ericsson P4, he's going to be on the outside of row 2. Like I said, still in the picture. But what this yellow does is it bumps everybody from the front up. So Brett Black now takes over 2nd. Dylan Gooded will transition now into 3rd spot. And assuming that Eckert will choose the outside for the restart again, it would line him up with Ericsson on the bumper. So he's not getting rid of the 88 easily.
Yeah, and this is something that also got pointed out in our Twitch chat. By the way, we're in the Twitch chat. We can read it. Thank you very much for watching and dealing with our technical issues. And again, I apologize greatly for that. It looks like we've got them all sorted out now here, right when it counts, right near the end. Somebody points out Ericsson really got saved by that caution coming out. He could have lost a lot more spots than just 2.
Yeah, he had done the job of saving the car, but he was slow. He was going to get passed likely by the 31 machine of Tony Johns, and then I think maybe he would have been able to hold off Brandon Ward just because by the time he got back to the 57, that was a car that was behind where the actual wreck happened, so he had to do a little bit of wreck avoidance and check up. So there was a bit of a buffer with traffic, but I certainly think that Johns would have been in 4th, and at that point as well, if it stays green, you're probably not going to be able to catch up because, P4 under green, if you save that, is, a 2nd probably, or a 2nd and a half off of the race leader. P4 in that context, very different than a 4th in a restart situation.
Yeah, at that point, you're just hanging on for dear life, and you've kind of resigned to running right there in the top 5, and you might not have a shot at it with the amount of laps left. But here we are with a restart. He's still 4th. This is still on the table for him.
And if it gets crazy up front again, if we see another aggressive block by Eckert, top to bottom, do we see, more cars slip it and slide it? We haven't really said that drivers that have been struggling with those kind of situations all night, but as we have mentioned, if you tuned in some 127 laps ago, you're going to be confused as to what race you're watching because we've gone from night to day, and it's about almost 7:45 a.m. in the sim. We've gone from the lights to the sun rising to, a pretty good healthy amount of daylight right now. So track tap says, well, going up. The track out of the shade, getting a little bit more slick. Not as much grip as these drivers that have been used to. You're working on a restart where this time through, even if it was a super short run like that, earlier in this race, basically every yellow was an opportunity for guys to come get tires, not giving up track position there. Try to heat these things back up. All these different factors that are going to make this restart probably the most difficult one of the race.
Yeah, and you got what you got here. You got what you got. You're not coming back in. Track position this late in the going, you're not coming in. You got what you got.
We'll see how it shakes out. No surprise that it looks like Eckert has decided to choose the outside line for the restart. So he's going to be first with Brett Black inside 2nd. Gooden Ericsson row 2. 31 of Tony Johns rounds out the top 5 in the running order. We will take the restart this time by to see 6 laps to go. And as Black tucks in line with back-to-back cautions, we go to single file restart procedure. So it is all about trying to time with the 90 machine as best you can to not let him get away as the control car. Pace car off and away. Johnny Eckert puts the right foot down. 6 more laps to go in Vegas.
Yeah, very good start for Eckert. He led him off there perfectly. And remember, you can't pass to the inside from the start finish line on a single file restart as he is tucked away and he is gone from Brett Black. He's got about a 4-car length advantage as they come off of turn number 2.
Everybody slipping and slotting for your race leader, single file. Oh, and a big rock down at turn 2. There they go.
Yeah, there they go again. They tried it again, and they did it again. Robert Hill, Davis Warren, Nick Stoller, bunch of cars involved here. Let's see if we can catch the replay. You know who got through that pretty okay, though, is Brandon Ward, but let's see the replay here and see what happened here. Oh, and he got turned. Mason Dunn in the 21 turned him here, and that caused a giant melee here on the back straightaway. And that's why we are going to go under caution again. We aren't quite in overtime yet. Looks like we're going to stay in regulation, but yeah, really, really interesting there. Restart there late in the going.
Yeah, Ward, as you mentioned, if we saw it on the replay, was actually the first car to get turned around there. But then you saw the second half of the replay, he was doing a real, some really good wreck avoidance. As what the incident that he was involved in to start with kind of kicked off. He was trying to just get to the outside of Tony Johns. That was a fight for position at P5 and 6. We talk about that end of the racetrack being slicker than it's been all night. I mean, same thing that we saw on the restart prior with Jordan Erickson. The car just got loose and it spun out on his own, and he was not able to catch it. He might have been able to save it. That car looked pretty gone, but he hadn't gone all the way around. Problem is, you're scrubbing off speed when you're sideways like that, and nowhere for Mason Dunn to go. You mentioned the contact between those two, and that is when the racetrack gets blocked, and we slow things down once more. But a half a dozen cars or so get a piece of damage. There are no changes up front. Still Eckert, followed by Black, Gooden, Erickson, and Johns, your top 5. I'm thinking, either way, if this thing finishes in regulation, or if we have to go to a grade white checker, it's going to be a 2-lap shootout. I don't see the lights are not on the pace car, so we're not going to be able to get any more than that in. So I guess, however you sum it up, if it's overtime or not, we are going to see a green-white checker.
Yeah, and the other thing, keep in mind, they didn't complete a green flag lap again. So this restart is going to be single file once again, and as I mentioned, when we did go to the restart, you can't pass to the inside. You can only pass to the outside on a single file restart. So these guys here, they have to be in lockstep with Eckert, as Alex Ripstein gets the free pass as he goes across the top of the screen there. They have to be in lockstep with Eckert. If they aren't, it's over. Point blank, it's over.
It wasn't an awful restart the last time through, but I still don't think, that the restart that Brett Black was able to get would have been enough to stick with it on. He dropped it about 4 car lengths back, maybe on a 6-7 lap run to the end like we had. You could make up for it, but you almost have to guess a little bit, and that's risky business because it is that lead car who dictates the start. The lights are still on top of the pace car as we look now to 132. It does look like that this one is going to see some additional time added onto the scoring pylon, but you kind of have to, if I'm Brett Black, I'm guessing a little bit. I know you can't just completely commit to it because that's how you wad up the whole field. And by the way, only being able to make a pass to the outside, that's why you'll see Eckert and everybody else line up against the wall, because if you see it on the bottom, you're leaving that top side susceptible to a pass before the start finish. So they'll ride the wall to protect positions, but you're going to have to get a little bit lucky here. You do have a sample size. You can kind of pick out that Eckert's been waiting about 1.5, 2 seconds from the pace car's cleared to go. But he can go right away. He could wait longer, and that is always the concern we're trying to guess, is it is up to Eckert's decision on when he wants to restart this, and that being the control car in the first place, but also the fact that being the control car on a single file restart gives him a big advantage here.
Yeah, as being the control car, its leader dictates the starts and restarts in the Championship Online Racing teams. And as we head into overtime, as I was the series director for this division for 15 seasons, I'll say what they say. Gentlemen, welcome to overtime. We have 2 attempts at it. This is attempt number 1, and we'll see if they require 2 or if they will get it done with the single overtime here. As we head past the advertised distance of this Hangover 400 at Las Vegas. The series heads to Martinsville next week. We will be back, hopefully with no technical issues, next week at the Martinsville Speedway, and that's the the exciting week of Court Vision broadcast that we have for you to help you get through what we're going through, as we are We got Monday night, the ARCA iRacing Raptor Challenge, multi-class sports car racing at the Sebring International Raceway on Monday night. Tuesday night, the CORT MH Designs Tour Modifieds. They're at the Oxford Plains Speedway. That's on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, if you love this Class B action, if you're entertained by this, if you're enjoying this finish, come on out next week. They're at Martinsville. And I hear tempers can flare at Martinsville in the Championship Online Racing teams.
I mean, even the way that this race is going, typically Martinsville is a place where either the, those tempers originate, or it's also a place where you can settle the score. So green-white checker finishes also, by the way, tend to lend themselves to bringing some drama in. The last 2 times through, we have not made it out of corner 2 without somebody spinning and somebody getting sideways. They've been blocking. We have seen drivers cut brakes earlier. No cuts, no brakes going to be cut from this point on to the end of the race. As the pace car drives off it in, let's see what Eckert's got for it as we get set to go at it. First attempt at a green-white checker, and he is gone. Big jump for the 90.
Yeah, Eckert is gone. Great restart by the 90 of Eckert, as now it's going to be on Brett Black to get caught back up to Eckert here as they come off of turn number 2. He's still in it, but the battle might be for third here.
Yeah, Black all on his own second, but here it is to the inside. Jordan Erickson on Dylan Gooden, side-by-side fight for third.
Caution.
And a caution. They do not make it to the white flag. There's a spinner on the back straightaway in the O2 car.
O2 of Matt Harrington is going to bring out the caution here. Let's see if we can see what happened to the O2 of Matt Harrington.
On his own. Turn 2 is still going to be the place of problem as we pick him up going off and into turn 1. He was on the outside of a battle. And again, just the lack of grip. That car pushes up. He gets into the outside wall. And unfortunately comes down. Actually, he was able to turn it back into the wall. I mean, he did everything he could to avoid, taking other cars out. But eventually did spin, trigger yellow. And I think 2 cars might have got a piece of that when he came back down. Heavy damage on Mason Dunn as well.
Yep. And that means one more shot at it for Brett Black as we head into double overtime.
Keep it in mind as well that if, we got to look back in that battle for third, which, we thought was going to kind of be the battle to the end there as we were getting ready to call, Eckert taking the white flag. When the lights go on top of the pace car, they're side-by-side for third. Jordan Erickson, I thought, had a nose in front of Gooden, and it looks like when they come by the start-finish line, that is how they are going to be scored. So Erickson did gain the position. I believe it is going to remain a single-file restart the next time through because an entire lap was not completed there. But Erickson does get one back. So, if he can't challenge for Eckert, maybe he could at least fight Black for second because he did pick up a spot there.
And you know how green this race was going, and they had, the 50 lap green flag run there in the middle of this thing? That was our 7th caution of the night. Kind of sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had those 2 early on, and, not early on, but you had one some 10 laps into the race, and at about lap 35, we saw the second, and at that point, we went through... not all the way through a cycle of green flag pit stops, but we did. I mean, some cars, including some race leaders, opted to pit, and when the yellow flag came out shortly thereafter, could have made it way through the stops. That is kind of what flipped this race upside down. We had an idea of, even with drivers gaining spots and losing spots, we had an idea of who had speed, kind of, where to look, and make a rough idea of who was going to be in this late. And not to say that Eckert, Black, and Erickson are surprise drivers. They've shown speed all night, but that certainly did catch a handful of your top 10, top 15 drivers out. I mean, some of them unable to recover all the way to get back up front because they, then got tossed back into the fray. Somebody like a Mitchell Riggs who had a pretty good night. He has to restart mid-pack. He has to be aggressive. He's then at an incident. His night falls apart. He's running 33rd position. Never thought that would have happened when the green flag pit stops were kicking off and we were talking about, maybe final trip down pit road of the night. Instead, these yellows have shake things up late. We had questioned if it was going to be a stroll to the end or if we would see this chaos. And, well, if you like to see the world burn and you like to see some chaos, you're seeing it late in this one. This race continues to go in deeper into overtime, but this will be our final attempt coming up at a green-white checker to finish.
Yep, this will be it. And you remember how we were talking about Brandon Ward being a contender for the win, and then we had the caution in green flag pit stops? That really derailed his race. And unfortunately, Brandon Ward is all the way back in the 23rd position. So that goes to show you just how unfortunate that caution fell for him, as he's all the way back at 23rd and was caught up in a lot of these accidents here in the late going. So tough break for Ward, because he did rally back up into about the 10th spot when we were getting towards the tail end of this one. But now as we get to the tail end of this one and we get into overtime, he's not going to be a factor.
Tough break, of course, was kind of the car involved in the yellow just prior to this, and he finds himself 23rd, as you mentioned, on the racetrack right now. And again, the big thing is the single file restart. To me, that is maybe the lifesaver for Johnny Acker. But even when we were still on the side-by-side restarts, the last one having to come at about 20 or so, just inside of 20 laps to go, I believe, as the lights go on top of the pace car, he still looked good. Not to say that the Nani, is being saved by it, but it's certainly helping him. He has been perfect on all the race starts. He just needs to be perfect, I think, on one more now.
And you know what? Brett Black's had 2 chances to see how Eckert's going to bring this field to the green. He might know his pattern by now. That's a lot of sample size when it comes to this late in the going. So it's going to be on Eckert to shake up his pattern here on this green flag, on this restart here on the final overtime attempt of the night.
And if you're Eckert, are you thinking about that as well? Are you going to say, well, listen, he's been parked on a B for 2 in a row. Do I change it up now? If you're Brett Black, are you thinking, well, I'm going to go when he's gone the last 2 times? Or are you overthinking and saying, well, wait, there's no way he's going to do it 3 times in a row? These are all the mental gymnastics going on behind those sim helmets of these drivers as they look to settle once and for all who's going to win this inaugural Hangover 400. Pace car down and in as we get set to start the 139th lap of action here tonight for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Pace car in. Johnny Eckert, a slow roll. Green flag back in the air.
Brett got a much better restart, but Eckert still pulls away. He's got about 2 car lengths as they head into turn number 1. The challenge might be for second now.
The 4 car sees Ericsson on the bumper. Remember, Ericsson went for the 3rd on the last restart. He traces the tire lines of Brett Black. Block it out. Going to go to protect the inside. Here comes Ericsson to the top. We'll go side by side for second. They're close, but just a little bit out of reach of Ericsson. As Eckert now pulls a few car lengths at a turn 4. He looks for the white flag.
He gets the white flag. The next flag will end it, as Eckert goes into 1 for the final time as the battles for second.
Ericsson still holds the bottom as he's crossed it up with Brett Black at the outside. Look for the speed at a turn 2. It'll be a drag race for that second spot down the Nellis straightaway. Both of these drivers got a great view of the car out in front, though. Black and Ericsson. This one going to go down to the wire, but it is Eckert in front of both of them. Final time at a 4. Johnny Eckert going to win the showdown at Sunrise. He wins the Hangover 400, and behind him, Ericsson pulls through inside to snatch second on the green white checker.
Really good finish there. Eckert was able to time the restarts well, did his work, hung on to it, timed it well, and got the victory. What a mature championship drive by Eckert there, as that was a great run for him in the late stages. Had a lot of chances to lose it, but he kept his composure, and he got the W.
Hey, that 4 machine, as you said, he did get a better restart. He was on the bumper out of 4, but Ericsson, as he challenged Black, ended up being enough of a distraction to keep him off. But for Eckert, he was just able to get better acceleration through the gears. It is going to burn it down now in the front straightaway. Some other drivers come through to congratulate him on the win as he celebrates a checkered flag here tonight from Vegas. Eckert gets his first win of the season and 3rd different race winner in a row, and 3rd different race winner of the 4 races so far this year.
Yeah, really good run for Eckert here. He's running a part-time schedule this season, he said, but he might have to reconsider considering there's 2 drop weeks in the schedule. So he would be able to contend for the championship if he kept going here. So Good one for Eckert, and he wins the inaugural major, or the inaugural event of this new major, the Hangover. So, congrats to Eckert on that one. Looking to see if we can get the top 3 on for interviews. It might take a minute as they need to find their way over here for the interviews. So, why don't we go through the finishing order real quick before we get to those interviews? As Eckert gets the victory, Jordan Erickson second, Brett Black in third with the 4 car, Dylan Good in fourth, Tony Johns fifth, Kyton Mommersbach in sixth, Mike Husby in seventh, Alex Boffley with a good finish in eighth, James Gutta with a good finish in ninth. He's an American badass as he moves over to ninth, Steve Luvender 10th, and I'll let you take 11th through 20th.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of a crazy part on the last lap as all these drivers fought with each other, of course, keeping the looks up in front. But Justin Bland with 11th spot and Nick Stoller in 12th. John Long gets the lucky number 13 finishing position. Big moves for the likes of Chris Sweat and DeMonte Dotson to go 14 to 15th spot. Aaron Bean ends up in 16th position. Philip Clark comes home 17th with Sean Sadler at 18th. Julian Bedore 19th, and halfway back is Brandon Ward in P20.
21st, Patrick Lindsay. Robert Hill falls to 22nd. Matt Harrington. Then 23rd, Davis Warren. And 24th, Alex Ripstein, 25th. Jeffrey Miller, 26th. Anthony Hyatt. Anthony Hyatt. Tough break for Anthony Hyatt. He had a really good run going. He was in the top 10 for most of the evening. He ends up 27th. John Wilco, 28th. Steve Boylan, 29th. And Jeff Gross, 30th. And the last 10 in the field, Mason Dunn, Mitchell Riggs, Stephen Taylor, Johnny Parham, Matt Wood, Chad Holmes, Brent Sweet, Tyler Tucker, Kevin Bingle, and John Wood round out the 40-car field for tonight, as we will get in touch with our drivers here for the interviews here tonight, as I will get a hold of Brett Black here for the third place interview.
And just to note again, for the way that this it all played out as well, we saw a lot of everything tonight. So the drivers that were able to fight through up front here had speed, but they also were able to get through all that attrition.
Yeah, a lot of attrition here late in the going, but they absolutely found a way to get through that, and they got the W, or they got through it, and these guys are rewarded with good finishes. All right, we've caught up with the third place finisher on the evening, and that is Brett Black in the number 4. Brett, really tight battle there with Jordan on the final green-white checker, but you were definitely trying to get that lead on the final restarts. Was it just difficult to time what Eckert was doing with these single-file restarts late?
Yeah, those single-file restarts are real tough, especially when you're second. It's really hard to get a run, and then I was kind of loose towards the end, too, so that didn't help anything.
Yeah, and once again, you had a really good run. Wasn't quite able to lead, but you were in the top 10 for most of the evening. Night to day, something that we haven't seen in the championship online racing teams much. How different was it to go from, instead of being a day to night race like we're typically used to running at these places, to go from night to the day? Was there a difference once the track got the sun on it and it actually warmed up?
There's a slight difference. It's definitely just weird overall, going from night to day. It's different. But car-wise, it was about the same.
Okay, fair enough. Anybody you would like to give a shout out to? Anybody you want to give a quick shout out to here as we wrap things up?
Yeah, I want to shout out to everyone in the league for coming out to race, and you guys for broadcasting it, and of course my teammate Jordan for passing me on the last lap.
All right, that's Brett Black. That's your third place finisher. Thank you, Brett. As we will now get a hold of Jordan Erickson here in the second position. As Jordan Erickson now, I got a hold of Jordan Erickson. Jordan, congratulations on the second place finish. Hell of a battle there coming to the line with Brett Black there. Did you think if you had a few more laps, you had something for the 90 of Eckert?
I don't know. It was the short run speed. I didn't really have it. I was more the entire practice and the entire race. I was more of a long run thing. I was letting people go just to try to save tires and all that. So I don't know. Maybe. I think double file restarts would have maybe helped me out a little bit too, but that's just not in the rules for the series. I don't know. It was clean air meant a lot, and losing the lead on that pit stop is kind of what ended up being the nail in my coffin, I think. Also getting ridiculously loose on that one restart, but I knew that I had one shot at trying to get a better turn than he did, and I just went full send.
Yeah, we saw that in the booth. It was pretty crazy, that move that you made there. As you sit here, it's a good finish for you, Jordan, after a win at Iowa last week. Do you feel like you're kind of getting your season back on track after the difficulties you had at Daytona?
Well, I essentially used both of my drop weeks the first 2 weeks, which I'm thankful for y'all running the series that y'all did that, because that was going to be tough for a lot of people not being able to make races and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have those 2 drop weeks to lean on, but I already used both of them essentially, so I have to finish very well from here on out. But I mean, a second place and a first place last week is a good start to that, to turn the season around.
Yeah, and lastly, do you have anybody you want to give a shout out to here as we wrap things up?
Thanks to Brett Black and Tyler and all the guys on Brett Black Racing, Steve, Jim, Jeff, all those guys. Thanks for doing what they do to help us out every week. And yeah, see you next week at Martinsville. I like Martinsville. Should be fun.
Yeah, you had a pretty good finish there in the fall.
I did indeed.
All right, that's Jordan Erickson. He's your second place finisher here tonight. And I will throw it over to Evan, who has caught up with our winner, Johnny Eckert.
You were down in the virtual victory lane from Las Vegas Motor Speedway with tonight's race winner, Johnny Eckert. Johnny, congratulations on the win. Just tell us about the wild night that started way back in P24, back when it was dark out, the race up to the front, and then, of course, the inability to just kind of close this one out, to have to go through the motions there, and a couple of late race restarts got the heart rate up, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. The end of that race, I can tell you I was extremely nervous coming off 4, seeing the pace car pull down. I was just hoping I wouldn't spin the tires or anything, but early on, qualifying didn't go as I expected, but it was imperative that I got a decent lap down, that I wouldn't DNQ. That was the most important thing for me in qualifying. And I figured I had a little bit of pace, but it was going to be race pace. It wasn't necessarily going to be short run speed, because I was kind of struggling trying to find that speed, just being too tight on exit, mid corner, and various points. It was all over the place, and trying to balance that out. And early on, one of the long green flag runs we had earlier in the event, I wore out my tires a little bit more than I wanted to, so I kind of balanced my my driving style a little bit more to save them. And just with a little bit of luck with how cautions fell, I was able to move up. And that last pit stop was the critical one, because I beat Jordan off pit road, and from there we just, the cautions just kind of fell well, and I was able to capitalize on the restarts.
Do you think the single file made a big difference there? Because we were just talking with Jordan, and he said as well, funny that you mentioned that you didn't feel like that 90 was going to be that good for the short run, because he said the same thing, and he just wasn't able to get to you, at the end there. And of course, you did leapfrog him out of the pit lane, so that track position helped you out. But it seemed like, despite however many looks he got at your restart procedure, every time you were able to get a couple of car lengths right off of the bat and kind of make those guys fight for second without really even being able to think about going after you.
Yeah, the restarts for me, especially with the cycles on the tires, we would go green. You get to the backstretch and you get a little bit of heat in the tires, but not much. But it was loose. It was pretty loose in turn in 1 and 2, and it was kind of hard to control. So I was just being careful just to keep the car in one piece. But if the caution came out in the middle of the backstretch or came out in going into turn 3, it was enough time to add some heat into the tires and to cycle them out again. So you really never truly knew what you were going to get when you got into the corner itself. So changing up my restarts a little bit, not too drastically. I kept the distance to the pace car the same, didn't pull any stunts speed wise. I just kept consistent and tried to just get the cleanest restart I could. And I was luckily able to do that each time. And Brett tried, I spoke to Brett shortly before, and he said he tried different things to get a run on me, to try to get closer at least going into turn 1, and he just wasn't able to do it. So I was just very fortunate that I didn't, screw myself out of the good finish, spinning the tires, hitting the wall, whatnot. So I think, especially when we got that last green white checkered, coming off 2, I saw that I took it really conservative on exit, but I looked behind me, and Jordan and Brett were side by side, and they were flying from the bottom to the outside. So I was like, I better hold on and hope that this thing sticks for another lap and a half. And thankfully, we were able to do it.
Third start for you on the season, of course, having to miss just one of the weeks so far and running, unable to commit to a full schedule, though. But to get this race win, to have the knowledge that 90 car's got the speed in it to be able to fight for the race wins, what's going to be the outlook for you for the rest of the season? And that includes headed into the race next week when we go to Martinsville.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet about if we're going to be able to make it next week. We'll see. But it's nice to get that win, I guess, off my back. It's been a bit of a struggle this season in this car. We've run well, I've had speed, but it's just kind of been wrong place, wrong time. And today it just felt like everything lined up, the stars lined up, to say, and we were able to finish it off. So I have a couple more events. If I'm a road course racer, I'm a road course ringer, I guess. I really enjoy the road races, so I'll definitely be back for that. But there's a couple more races that definitely pique my interest when it comes to the series. So, I'll definitely still be around quite a bit. But yeah, Martinsville is one of those iffy ones because it's a very very close track, close quarters.
Well, unfortunately, you can't go down the road and hit the slots because they're all closed, but we're going to let you get out of here and let you celebrate anyways. But before we do, sponsors, shout-outs to those good folks. Anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you to Dave, Bean, and all the admin team for putting on such a great series. It's a lot of fun running around in court, the different series we got going on. It's a blast. Big thanks to Dylan, Kyle, like I said, Bean again. Just communicating different things throughout the event tonight, and I also got to thank my outlaw team, putting out a good car, I guess, and take care, everybody, and thank you all for watching.
Appreciate the time as well here post-race. Johnny, again, congratulations on the win. We'll see what you got for us for the rest of the year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Race winner down at Victory Lane at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It is Johnny Eckert, winner of the Hangover 400.
Yeah, really, really good one here tonight at Las Vegas as we begin to wrap things up. Just got some stats but via CORT Stats over on Twitter. Johnny Eckert becomes the first three-time winner at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Johnny Eckert now has the second most mile-and-a-half wins in the CORT National Series with 9. So those are some stats that you can take to the bank if it's open tomorrow in your town out there. Evan, I want to say thank you so much for coming in and helping us out. You didn't have to. You didn't have to come and help us out with this. And I apologize again for the technical issues that we had earlier on in the broadcast. We got it sorted out by the end. The end looked great. So looks like we got it all sorted out. But again, apologize for the technical issues at the beginning of this thing. But Evan, thank you so much for coming out and helping us out with this tonight.
I appreciate the invite. It's always good to be involved in any sort of sim racing, but especially any sort of sim racing broadcast. So enjoyed the race tonight and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the series plays out. And I'll be keeping tabs for sure.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. So for all of you who are watching tonight and who watched all week, we want to let you know, as if you did not see it on Twitter, we will be back next week. We were going to see how it went this week and see if there was demand for these broadcasts, and the numbers are astonishing. We've gotten double the followers on Twitch. We've maxed out at about 60 people watching on Monday, and it's only been near that all week long. So I want to say thank you very much for you guys watching, and I'll keep broadcasting as long as I got a voice, which is not much left anymore. But we will try and provide you with the entertainment that you seek as we go through what we're going through. So for Evan Pasoko, Evan, again, thank you so much. I'm David Amboys. We're going to go ahead and leave the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll be back next Monday night with some multi-class GT4 and TCR sports car racing from the Sebring International Raceway. It's the ARCA iRacing Raptor Challenge. We hope you could join you then. Johnny Eckert, your winner in the inaugural Hangover 400 from Las Vegas. So long, everybody.